Have you ever wondered if a single queen could stop one of the most powerful empires on Earth? What if I told you that over 400 years ago, an African queen stood against European invaders, refused to surrender, and fought for her people for nearly 4 decades? It sounds like something from a Hollywood movie. But this is a true story. A story of courage, intelligence, strategy, and determination. At a time when European empires were expanding across the world, conquering territories and building vast colonies, one woman decided she would not bow to foreign rule. While kingdoms around her were falling, she stood her ground. While powerful armies marched toward her lands, she fought back. And while her enemies believed victory was certain, she turned herself into one of the greatest military leaders in history. But how was this possible? How could a queen from Africa challenge an empire that possessed advanced weapons, professional soldiers, and seemingly unlimited resources? How did she manage to resist invasion after invasion when so many others failed? And why is her incredible story rarely taught in history books today? In this video, we're going to uncover the extraordinary life of Queen Nzinga, a ruler whose bravery shocked the world. You'll discover how she rose from a young princess to become one of Africa's most feared and respected leaders. You'll learn about the famous moment when she humiliated European officials during a diplomatic meeting and showed that she would never accept being treated as inferior. We'll explore the brutal battles that transformed her into a legendary warrior queen. You'll see how she used intelligence, diplomacy, alliances, and military strategy to challenge one of the most powerful European empires of her time. We'll reveal the tactics she used to keep her kingdom alive when defeat seemed inevitable. And most importantly, you'll understand why her name continues to inspire people centuries after her death. This is not just the story of a queen. It's the story of resistance. It's the story of freedom. It's the story of a leader who refused to give up, even when the odds were stacked against her. So before you skip ahead, ask yourself this: what kind of person is willing to risk everything to protect their people? What kind of leader can stand before an empire and say, "You will not take my kingdom"? And what happened when that empire finally realized it was facing an opponent unlike any it had ever encountered? The answers are far more incredible than you might imagine. Let's travel back to 17th century Africa and discover the unforgettable story of the African queen who defeated European invaders.
Imagine an African queen standing before one of the most powerful armies in Europe. Thousands of enemy soldiers, modern weapons, cannons, and a mission to conquer her kingdom. The Europeans were confident this would be another easy victory. They were wrong. What happened next shocked the world. An African queen led her warriors into battle and crushed a European invasion, proving that courage, strategy, and leadership could defeat even the mightiest empire. Today, we're uncovering the incredible true story of Queen Nzinga, one of the greatest military leaders in history. A woman so fearless that her enemies feared her name. A queen who refused to bow. A ruler who fought for freedom for nearly 40 years. And a legend whose story still inspires millions today. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Queen Nzinga became one of Africa's most powerful rulers and how she achieved something few leaders in history ever could. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Africa before the invasion. The story begins in the early 1600s. At this time, the Portuguese Empire was expanding across Africa. Their goal was simple: control trade, capture territory, and profit from the growing slave trade. One of the regions they wanted most was Ndongo, a powerful kingdom located in present-day Angola. The kingdom was rich, strategically important, and fiercely independent. But the Portuguese believed they could easily conquer it. What they didn't know was that a future queen was already preparing to change history. Her name was Nzinga. From a young age, she displayed remarkable intelligence. She learned diplomacy, military tactics, languages, and the art of leadership. While others saw a princess, history was preparing a warrior. Chapter 2. The woman who refused to bow. In 1622, a critical meeting took place. Nzinga was sent to negotiate with Portuguese officials. The Europeans wanted to demonstrate their superiority. When she arrived, they offered her no chair. The Portuguese governor sat comfortably while expecting her to stand before him. It was a deliberate insult, a message that she was beneath them. But Nzinga refused to accept humiliation. Without hesitation, she ordered one of her servants to kneel. She then sat on the servant's back, placing herself at the same level as the governor. The room fell silent. In a single moment, she had sent a powerful message. She would never bow to foreign rulers. She would meet them as an equal. That act of defiance became one of the most famous moments in African history. But far greater challenges were coming. Chapter 3: The Rise of a Warrior Queen. As Portuguese pressure increased, conflict spread throughout the region. The kingdom faced constant attacks. Villages were destroyed. People were captured. Territory was lost. Many leaders would have surrendered. Nzinga chose war. After becoming ruler, she reorganized her army. She strengthened defenses, created new alliances, and transformed her kingdom into a force capable of resisting one of Europe's greatest powers. Her warriors were disciplined, motivated, and fiercely loyal. Unlike many rulers who stayed safely behind palace walls, Nzinga often appeared alongside her troops. She understood that leadership required action. Every battle increased her reputation. Every victory made her enemies more nervous. The Portuguese expected resistance. What they encountered was a military genius. Chapter 4: The War That Shocked Europe. The fighting intensified. Portuguese forces launched repeated campaigns against her kingdom. They possessed firearms, professional soldiers, and support from a global empire. On paper, victory seemed inevitable. Yet Queen Nzinga kept winning. She used guerrilla tactics, ambushes, strategic retreats, and deep knowledge of local terrain. Her forces struck unexpectedly and disappeared before enemies could respond. The Portuguese became frustrated. Every campaign cost money, resources, and lives. Instead of collapsing, Nzinga's resistance grew stronger. She also formed alliances with neighboring groups, creating a network of support that made conquest far more difficult. Years turned into decades. Still she fought. Still she resisted. Still her kingdom remained free. European commanders began realizing they were facing one of the most determined leaders they had ever encountered. Chapter 5: The Queen Who Would Not Surrender. Most wars end quickly. Nzinga's struggle lasted nearly 40 years. Think about that. For decades of resistance. For decades of leadership. For decades of refusing to give up. Generation after generation knew her as the queen who stood against foreign domination. She adapted to changing circumstances, negotiated when necessary, fought when required, and always kept her people's survival at the center of every decision. Many enemies expected age to weaken her resolve. Instead, she remained politically active and strategically brilliant. Even as years passed, her influence continued to grow. By now, she had become more than a ruler. She had become a symbol of freedom, strength, and resilience. Chapter 6: Her Legacy Lives On. When Queen Nzinga died in 1663, she left behind a legacy that would survive centuries. Her kingdom had endured. Her people remembered her courage. And her story spread far beyond Africa. Today, historians consider her one of the greatest female military leaders in world history. Her achievements challenge outdated assumptions about African kingdoms. They remind us that powerful leaders existed across every continent, and they prove that determination can overcome overwhelming odds. Long before modern independence movements, Queen Nzinga was already fighting for sovereignty and self-determination. Her name became legendary, and legends never truly die. Outro. Queen Nzinga faced one of the world's most powerful empires and refused to surrender. She proved that leadership isn't measured by wealth or weapons. It's measured by courage. If you enjoyed this incredible story from history, make sure to subscribe for more fascinating tales of forgotten empires, legendary rulers, and extraordinary people who changed the world. Because history is filled with stories even more unbelievable than fiction.